clerk.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis. Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present, Trustee Palafis is out of town. Mr. Norris, Mr. Kaplan, what is the purpose of this
Norris
meeting?
isn't here.
Should have known the guy here, I should have known it was.
Yeah.
Our consultant, S.B. Friedman, is here tonight to give us a brief presentation, and then you can open up the hearing and see if there's any comments.
Is SB in the house? Please identify yourself for the record, name and address, please.
Good evening. Jeff Dickinson, SB Friedman Development Advisors, 221 North LaSalle Street, Chicago. Glad to be before you, Village Board and Mr. Mayor. Try to summarize the findings of the eligibility study and redevelopment plan and project for the proposed Higgins Old Sutton TIF area. I'm Jeff Dickinson. My colleague Elizabeth Ginsburg is here. The study area is 64 acres in size at the northwest corner of Higgins Road and 59. Old Sutton's in the middle of the TIF district, proposed TIF district. This is the process. This is regimented by state law. We've stepped through the filing of the report, the joint review board meeting with the taxing bodies. This is the public hearing. And then the village board can take a vote whether or not to adopt the TIF district anytime over the next 90 days after today under state statute. The first portion of the presentation is about eligibility. The state law has a very prescribed set of factors that must be found in order to find an area eligible. In order to make our recommendation to you, we conducted field work. We gathered parcel data from the county. We gathered evidence of recent investment, both in the field and from village staff about building permit activity. And most notably, a flooding study was conducted by Christopher Burke Engineering. And that was the main eligibility finding was based on the research conducted and analysis by Chris Burke's firm. For vacant land, there's two sets of rules in the TIF law for vacant land and improved land. There is and then inside of vacant land, this is a vacant TIF, there are no buildings. There's a one-factor test or a two-factor test that can be satisfied. In this case, the facts satisfy the one-factor test, which is that runoff from the study area contributes to flooding within the watershed in which the study area is located. So the site itself, only a little bit of it actually floods, but the runoff pours into an area that floods substantially, and I'll talk a little more about that in a second. Here we go, this second. 98% of the runoff is directed into a watershed that floods, and so we found that to be meaningful, we found that to be reasonably distributed, and that was the basis of the eligibility finding and conclusion. In addition to finding that, you have to look at several required findings and tests. The first question is a backward-looking test of has there been investment in the site or the study area. Obviously, if there's spontaneous reinvestment occurring, it's a moment to reflect and consider whether TIF is necessary. This site has not seen substantial investment, and we know this from talking to staff. There's a substantial lack of infrastructure at the site. That, among other things, are a big inhibitor to development moving forward. The second question is commonly referred to as the but-for test. Again, now the question is more of a forward-looking question. Would development occur but for the creation of the TIF district? If we can, and you can, conclude that it would, you shouldn't create the TIF district. That's the spirit of it. But if TIF is necessary to foment redevelopment as contemplated by the village, then you'd say that you satisfy the but-for test. We know from the extraordinary infrastructure costs required to make the site buildable, we feel very comfortable that but for this TIF, this site would not redevelopment or develop at all on its own. The TIF has to be contiguous. That's obviously, you can see that from the map. And it has to conform, the TIF plan must conform to village plans. TIF plans are not land use policy. TIF is a financial tool. You've already made land use policy. There's an area plan here. There's a comprehensive plan. That is where village land use policy is made and dictated and memorialized. TIF is a financial instrument to facilitate the implementation of policy made elsewhere. So the land use plan, which is required by state law, essentially is flexible to mimic your other land use policy that's already out there and future land use policy changes. The other half of the book, the first half is the eligibility study, the second half is the redevelopment plan. This is a description of how you're going to use the tool if you were to adopt TIF. You lay out, and we did lay out a series of objectives. What is the village trying to accomplish with this TIF and for this sub-area? Encouraging development, provide infrastructure, improve the public way, streetscaping, landscaping, signage, support rehabilitation. 23 years is a long time. There's no buildings yet, but conceivably, you could consider helping redevelop a building. You could also say no, but you want to have flexibility over 23 years, so we recommended allowing yourself to help with redevelopment. Again, that's a future decision. Obviously, there's no building. And support other plans. The other important aspect of what's in the plan is because flooding is the factor or contribution to flooding, the plan must provide for efforts to ameliorate that flooding. You can't say you've got a problem with flooding and not try to fix it under state TIF law. So the plan anticipates detention or some sort of management of stormwater to make that flooding problem ameliorated to some extent. TIF districts must have a budget. The budget is essentially a cap on spending, so $18.4 million. There are some adjustments that can be made for CPI and other things, but substantially this is what this board could approve to spend within this TIF over the life of the TIF. So there's fungibility amongst line items. The way that the money is allocated right now is essentially an expectation of where the money will be spent, but you will make future decisions, and as long as there's a line item for any particular spending, for example, site marketing costs is $100,000. If that turns out to be $101,000, that's acceptable under state law, as long as you don't exceed the cap. So you've got flexibility, but the expectation is most of the money is going to need to go to public works. We know there's a deficiency of infrastructure, and that's where the money's probably going to get spent. This budget could be amended, but it would require essentially redoing this process. There would be a public hearing, there would be a joint review board meeting. So this is effectively now essentially a ceiling on what you can do in terms of spending. So if increment is produced above this point, it couldn't really, aside from those adjustments, you couldn't spend it without an amendment. You'd have to surplus it out. That's the mechanics of it downstream, if and when increment comes forward. Future land use plan, state law requires that one be included. This is a very flexible plan. We don't know exactly what's going to happen here. And so this site plan and this future land use plan allows for commercial land uses. That could be retail, that could be office. It allows for residential, and then open space, rights of way, things like that. So you can't do industrial here. That's or you could do industrial. You can't use TIF to support industrial. And the current village land use policy doesn't anticipate industrial. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But even in the future, if you wanted to support industrial here, you'd have to amend the TIF plan. Your hands are tied in that regard based on this future land use plan. I don't think that's a problem. It's very consistent with what you've said before about land use. But that's the only real constraint here from a practical point of view about using TIF funds. Now, when and how and where to use TIF funds is a future decision, but you have a lot of flexibility inside of the residential and commercial land use categories. Those are the sort of the highlight slides. I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, has the clerk received any comments or objections? No. Clerk has received nothing. Review the joint review board recommendations, proposed tax increment financing district. Do the members of the board have any comments on this? Trustee Stanton?
Well, the only comment I would like is a copy of this report eventually before we vote.
We can do that. Get your copies.
Okay.
Anyone else have anything? If not, I'd like to invite anyone who wants to speak in this issue to come on forward, give us your name and address for the record. Is there anybody? I guess not. No further comments? Okay, anybody want to speak? I invite you to come on up if anybody wants to speak. Okay, nobody does. Nothing else from the... If no one else has anything to say, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it, motion carried. Board meeting will start at 7 o'clock. Or the committee meetings will start at 7.
Chairman Mills. Present. Vice Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Noel.
Present.
Trustee Palafis. Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. We have one item this evening under old business. That's request approval of a resolution opposing the Wisconsin Central Limited's proposed track extension in its current form.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do you wish to address this?
I will, thank you. This resolution was formulated after a review of a permit application submitted by the WCL, operating as CN Railroad, for a double track extension from Shoe Factory Road, approximately 4.2 miles to the south. The Army Corps had received the permit application and had notified residents of the village that were immediately adjacent to the railroad tracks by letter at the beginning of March of this year. Very shortly after a couple of those residents received that letter, they notified the village. We had gotten a copy of that, gotten in touch with Army Corps, and about the middle of March of this year, we had scheduled a meeting with the railroad and their consultants to review the project. The Army Corps, at the same time, had a comment period for public review of that permit application that began on the 28th of February of this year and ran through the 28th of March. The village, among other bodies and persons presumably, had requested an extension of that comment period to allow for a more thorough review of the application. That extension was granted. The village had submitted 2 comment letters to the Army Corps, who had solicited the comments. There were also numerous comment letters submitted by individuals and by other groups to the Army Corps as well. As a result of requests submitted through the Corps to the railroad held 2 public meetings, one at the Hanover Township offices and one at the Timber Trails Elementary School here in the village of Hoffman Estates. Comments that were submitted during those meetings were also considered by the railroad. Army Corps finally summarized their concerns and comments to a letter addressed to the railroad on the 15th of July of this year. CN responded to those comments on August 30th of this year. And upon the village staff's review of the railroad's response, we felt that there were certain points that needed to be addressed in more detail, which was what generated this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Wiesner. And just for the record, you've met with several representatives of residents over there?
Yes, we
I
have.
believe staff has met with them, and myself and staff has met with representatives from the various congressional offices in Washington asking for their assistance in this, too. I'm not sure how far that'll get us, but the mayor and I sat in on that last week. So this resolution, I'm not sure if everyone in the audience that's here for this has actually seen it. Some of the items that we've included in the resolution have to do with the railroad. We're asking them not to allow idling at or near the proposed crossover locations adjacent to residential areas, asking them to move the crossover south of Shoe Factory and into a location not adjacent to residential. Also, the proposal must include substantial replacement of vegetation lost, to maintain visual screening. The estimated train volumes in the noise analysis we're requiring them to revise to use a consistent data. Also, vibration efforts were not adequately addressed. We're commenting on that. The environmental impact statement and regarding a culvert south of Gulf Road, which was not addressed in the current proposal. So those are all items which are included in this resolution that we will be forwarding if it's approved tonight. Any questions or comments up here from the board? From the audience, does anyone wish to come up and comment on this? Please come up and identify yourself for the record. We need a name and an address, please.
Scott Gibbert, 1850 Nicholson Drive, Hoffman Estates, in beautiful Hoffman Estates.
Thank you.
I just want to go on record as thanking the village for listening to our residents, identifying the concerns that we all had, and the transportation department that I know spent a lot of time analyzing and reanalyzing and looking at this and listening to us over and over again. I know it's not an easy subject because there's a lot involved, a lot of moving pieces, but just want to go on record as from one of the organizations that are not real happy about what's going on there. We totally thank you for your position on this and your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those comments. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we do have a motion on the floor. I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. It will go forward to the board for approval tonight. There's nothing else on the agenda. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I thank you all for attending and the appreciation there. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned, and thank you.
I'd like to call to order the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee for this October 21st, 2019. May we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Vice Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis. Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. New business is a request authorization to award a contract for the Barrington Road I-90 area study to Farr Associates of Chicago, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $91,615.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Peter, do you want to take us through this?
Sure. We were authorized earlier this summer to issue the RFP for this proposal. We received proposals from 4 different firms. We found 3 of those to be very similar in cost estimates as well as the scope of services. One of the proposals didn't quite match the goals that we had outlined, we didn't feel, and their projected costs were also more than double the other 3. The staff team really reviewed this proposal carefully. We interviewed the 3 consulting firms, including Farr. Lengthy interviews, really tried to get into the details of what we thought we would be getting and talked a lot about the specific issues and items surrounding the Barrington Interchange area, including each of the 3 quadrants that are in Hoffman Estates. We felt that Farr brought the most appropriate approach for what we were looking for as far as addressing items in the RFP, as far as being sensitive to different types of property owners that we will be working with, ranging from office users, the Bellworks project, industrial buildings, apartment dwellings. They seem to have the best experience with similar projects to these. They also take a very strong implementation focus when they do planning studies and carefully consider how a project could be implemented or how changes could be implemented over time. So they're not just looking to put together a land use plan, lay it out on the table, and have us just hope that it may come true in the future. They're actually hoping to provide us with some guidance and suggestions as to how we can advance development. So overall, we're hoping that this project is going to really take the next step for the interchange improvements, which include full access as well as the transit center. A lot of the land uses around the interchange obviously are fairly dated, and we've talked to several property owners who are actually interested in looking at options or alternatives for their property that may differ from what they were in the past. So we're hoping the FAR study will actually help those owners as well as the village kind of envision a different future for the area that would really kind of elevate what we have and take better advantage of the new transportation improvements. So overall, we are recommending FAR Associates. Their cost was basically in line with the other 2 that we had interviewed. We do have money budgeted in the 2019 budget for this study. We have actually had more than this amount budgeted because we were hoping to also start the comp plan, which at this point we won't start until this is finished. So we're anticipating in 2019, if this moves forward tonight, we would be able to begin pretty much right away in November with kind of some fact-finding, open house, kind of charrette type meetings, hopefully through November, early December, and really get a good, I'd say, half of the way into the study, get a good start, ultimately with the goal that this would be wrapped up by June of next year. Another point I should have made is what FAR is proposing that the board would see through this process would be the development of 3 different scenarios, which would really indicate the village's level of involvement, whether it's kind of stand back and just let things happen naturally, maybe look for minor opportunities here or there to add maybe a directional signage to the transit center, things like that, up to the other extreme where the village could potentially get more directly involved with specific property owners and actually try to advocate redevelopment actions occur, assembly of property, look for projects that would maybe take some underperforming properties and really advance them into a more productive use within the community and better serve the area as well as produce better for the property owners. So they're going to kind of create 3 different plans that would have different levels of village involvement, which would help us kind of see the different potential futures that could happen. And we're excited to see how that could play out. So I can answer any questions. The contract has been reviewed by legal and is ready to go, so a copy of the proposal is attached.
Peter, do you have a list of landowners that are in this area that we would be talking with?
We are working on that right now. That'll be one of the first things we have to do. Again, the areas itself, we'd be talking about north of the tollway, basically everything up through Fountain Crossing, over to kind of the Bell Works property, obviously, Siemens, Claire's, the hotel. Southeast of the intersection, there's a vast number of them. There's all of the businesses on Stonington and Pembroke, which includes the village, who owns, a couple facilities, public works facilities, water tower, kind of right in the heart of the area. And it extends all the way east and south down through Barrington Square Mall. And we encompassed the restaurant mall at Barrington Higgins all the way down to the hospital, kind of as that southeastern quadrant. And then as a kind of an appendage to that, we want to make sure that we seek involvement from the various residential neighborhoods. So the Barrington Lakes Apartments, Barrington Square neighborhoods, Hilldale, any of the larger areas of residential where we may have a consolidated ownership or associations that we can reach out to and get input from. And then the southwest quadrant includes the entire Greens Point area, which includes the 3-4 hotels, couple restaurants, the office buildings, and they have a fairly strong association over most of those properties as well. So we're hoping to work through associations, but also reach out to individual businesses. So the FAR approach is going to really have a varied approach to meetings, where there may be one-on-one meetings with groups such as Bell Works, because it's such a major project. Then there may be some group meetings with like businesses, maybe hotels. And then we also would have some open house type settings where we would invite really anybody and everybody we could find, which could extend to residents as well, in addition to the property owners and businesses. So we will compile that list, much like we did out west for the West study, where we, in one shape, form, or another, we will try to make sure everybody in that zone, whether they live there, work there, own property there, have some kind of an opportunity to come to the table at the right setting.
That's a larger area than I thought we were going to be involved with, but that's fine.
Yeah, it is. And so some of it, some of the outer reaches may be more open house things where if we send out 25, 30 notices, but at least we want to give people the opportunity. We obviously can't have one-on-one meetings with what could have become 50 or 100 different parties, but we'll certainly make sure we hit the key ones. But again, we want to make sure we get input. If anybody's really interested, we want to get the word out. And we do anticipate, obviously, having the village board involved as part of that process as well. So there would be focus group meetings, or we'll figure out what the right setting would be during the process before you ever see any kind of finished report at the end.
All right, thank you. Any other questions up here from committee members? No? Okay. There is a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Village Board meeting of October 21st, 2019. Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis. Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present. Everybody please rise. Trustee Gady, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag Thank you.
I'd like to note for the record, this meeting is being broadcast live on our cable channel and will be reshown throughout the week. And Trustee Palafis is on a much-deserved vacation with his wife celebrating his birthday. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, recognition of the audience. This is the time if anybody has a question or concern that they'd like to bring before the village board for the item that is not on the agenda. Now's the time to come forward. Going once, twice, 3 times, and move on. Chair to accept a motion to approve the minutes of the October 7th, 2019 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Is a motion a second? Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. A motion to approve the October 14th special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion a second. Any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Move on to consent agenda. Chair would accept a motion.
So moved. I'm going to vote for A through D.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. The items on this agenda are A, approval of the agenda, B, approval of the schedule of bills for October 21st, 2019, the amount of $5,185,753.95. C, request board approval of an ordinance authorizing the sale of personal property owned by the Village of Hoffman Estates. D, request board approval of an ordinance providing for the issuance of $9,625,850 general obligation bonds, Series 2019, of the Village of Hoffman Estates, Cook and Kane Counties, Illinois, and providing for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds. There is a motion, a second. Any questions on these items? Seeing none, can you poll the board, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. And move on to President's Report. Do we have a proclamation, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I have the first one. Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe. Whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, followed high ethnic standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Incentive, which today includes the World Health Organization's U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Gates Foundation to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease. And whereas, to date, Rotary has contributed more than $1.9 billion and countless volunteer hours to protecting more than 2.5 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas these efforts are provided much-needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational material for health workers and parents. And whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $8 billion to the effort. And whereas there are over 10,000 Rotary members in more than 275 clubs throughout Illinois that sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in their local communities and abroad. Be it therefore resolved that William D. McLeod, acting under and by the virtue of the authority vested in him by the Constitution of the State of Illinois and the laws of the Village of Hoffman Estates, hereby proclaim October 24th, 2019 as World Polio Day in the Village of Hoffman Estates and urge all residents and businesses to join in its observance.
Chair will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's motion is second. Of course, Rotary would be involved. They're involved in every good cause in our area and around the world, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And we appreciate your efforts on polio. For those of us of a certain age, polio and tuberculosis were the bubonic plague of our time, and it's important the work you have to do. My wife is the third of 7, and her 2 older brothers both had polio, and one still has walking problems because of that. So the work you do is fantastic, and I really applaud you very, very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have a motion carried. Come on up, Rotary. You've got about 50 people there. Somebody want to say a few words about Rotary? I think everybody knows about Rotary, but there might be somebody who doesn't for some reason.
Well, we are very proud to be in our 50th year as the Rotary Club of Schaumburg and Hoffman Estates. And we thank you, Mayor McLeod, for this proclamation. Rotary has indeed played a significant role in launching an initiative to eradicate only the second human disease ever to have been eradicated. And we are Our motto is, we are this close, and we are very proud of our association with the World Health Organization and the other agencies mentioned, and we thank everyone for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. Come on, everybody. Start down there.
Start over here, and this way you can go all the way down. Congratulations for all the work that you do. And congratulations for the work you do.
Yeah.
And also for you, sir, for sure.
Right away, we're going to get a
Good to
picture.
see you. Even, of course, even you. Hi, my dear. Good to see you. Good to see you also, and thank you. Absolutely. All of you. All of you
Still is a
deserve
playground in the
everything that I just read. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, how you
Thank you
doing?
also. Nice to see you.
How are you?
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Also, right. Oh, I didn't say this.
It's a nice shirt. Hey, let's get a picture. Come on, Julie, get in the picture here.
Just gonna have to really squeeze in.
All right, everybody smile. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. We'll take a couple. 3, 2, 1. There we go. It's a big group.
It is. Rotary's got a lot of members.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Okay, we do have a couple of presentations. Could Vilan Manavanan come forward, please? Bring your family up too if you want. Okay, hold on a second. A 7th grade student in the U46 school district, Velen was assessed and immediately accelerated last December to the 6th grade Ignite Gifted program at Glenbrook Elementary School by bypassing grade 5. In June of 2019, She was recognized by Northwestern University and received the Outstanding Achievement Award for achieving the highest level of distinction as a top scorer in the Northwestern University Midwest Academic Talent Search out of approximately 11,500 students in grades 3 through 9. Very impressive. In addition, Veland ranked 98th percentile in the recent PSAT tests. In September of 2019, the Illinois Mathematics and Science Academy recognized Veland for scoring among the top 5% of test takers in Illinois, being presented with a high soccer award. High scorer award, not soccer. I think I need new glasses. You're probably good at soccer, too. I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you for being an integral part of the Hoffman Estates community. And the Village of Hoffman Estates is proud to present the Certificate of Achievement to Vila Manavanan on October 21st, 2019, in recognition of your scholarly achievements. Come on forward. Start down there. Nice job.
Yeah, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. Let's get a picture. Let's get a picture, Vila.
Thank you.
We'll have the family get in it too. We'll take some pictures and we'll send them to you.
Yeah, I'll take the.
Oh, yeah, he's.
Yeah, come on up too. We'll generally email them to you.
All right, everyone smile. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Don't go too far.
Yeah, don't run off too far. Why don't you sit in the front row? By an amazing coincidence, someone with the same last name. There's the next one. Beyond, we thank the parents, Santa and Volupula Manavanan, for doing such a great job with their children. Madhumitha Manavanan. Madhumitha is a junior at the is a junior at the Illinois Mathematics and Science Academy and is a student inquiry researcher at UIC College of Applied Health Science. In addition, she is a member of FLL Robotics, Me2We, IEEE, Women in Engineering, and the Knowledge Society, TKS, Leading Innovation Program. Madhumitha aspires to be a prominent leader and has an interest in areas such as virtual reality, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, engineering, and app development. What do you do in your spare time? In addition to these accomplishments, she enjoys writing and has won several awards for her short story pieces, including the Scholastic Writing Awards in the area of journalism and personal essay, and has spoken at various conferences, including the University of Toronto's TEDx at UTS. Thank you for being an integral part of our Hoffman Estates community. Come on up. Nice job. Yeah. Let's get a picture here. Looking forward to reading about you in the newspapers and in magazines in the future. Okay, let's get the family in here again. Yep.
Certificates.
That's amazing. Glad my parents aren't here.
3, 2, 1. And one more. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Thanks.
Great job. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. Very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you. Well, now that we all feel totally inadequate, I do have an appointment to make. Patrick Kinane to the Chair of the Historical Sites Commission.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Pat has graciously agreed to chair this commission. He also brought another volunteer in that we interviewed and will be appointing at the next meeting. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have a motion carried. Couple announcements. Wine Wednesday will be held at First Place Sports Bar and Grill located at 1736 West Algonquin Road from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. this Wednesday, October 23rd. Everyone is welcome, and as always, we will collect items for our local food depositories. Join us for food and conversation. On Saturday, the Arts Commission invites you to find your inner artist. Join local artist Kristen Garrigan as she helps you create a unique art piece using mixed media arts techniques. No painting experience required. Simply bring a sense of adventure and a willingness to get messy as you create a fall-themed painting. Tickets are $20 per person and include all art materials. The event runs at the Village Hall from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. For more information, to register, visit www.hoffmanestatesarts.com. Okay, and last week did have a pension fairness call on Tuesday, the 15th, and on Wednesday, the 16th, I participated in the Northwest Municipal Conference Legislative Committee meeting via telephone. And as mentioned earlier, Karen and I and staff met with some folks on the CN. And on Thursday, most of us were able to go to the Decalash ribbon cutting. Decalash is located at 4597 on West Higgins Road on the shopping center out where Target is located. Later that evening, I attended the 4th of July Commission. Yes, we're working on that, and that'll be coming up before we know it. On Friday the 18th, had a great experience. The Transportation Committee for the Northwest Municipal Conference came out and toured our I-90 Barrington Road station. And the park and ride and the kiss and ride will be done by November. They're almost done with it. And it was very impressive we go by it every day, and just to see how great it is amazing. It's something that we all worked very hard on. I know Trustee Mills and Trustee Stanton were served on the committee, as did my wife Joni, and we appreciate everybody's efforts on this. It was a lot of work, but we got it done. On Saturday 19th, we had coffee with the board in this very council chambers. They had a lot of people. It was interesting. It was the senior commission put it on. They, as always, have great donuts and all kinds of goodies. We had a block party we attended on Yale Circle on Saturday. It was a well-themed party. We had Batman and Batwoman and Zorro and his son and Mrs. Zorro and a large bee who was the president of the association, Gordon Eckenrod. We also had Hispanic Heritage Day fiesta at the Village Hall here, and that was good attendance. That was the most people I think we've ever had here. And then we had the Lincoln Prairie School Fest, which is also a very great event, and thankful for everybody who was able to participate. This afternoon, Joni and I got our flu shots. Please get your flu shots, everybody. It's that time of year. And we had the TIF public hearing on the property at 59 and Higgins this evening before this meeting. And that's about all I have. Move on to B, trustee comments. Let's start with Trustee Mills.
Thank you. And I did get my flu shot here last week, so we're up to date here. On October 12th, I was able to attend the Man Science Show that was held here at Village Hall for the kids. It was a great experience.
That guy's hilarious, isn't
He was a riot. I think he was a little sorry with a couple of kids he called up there, kind of took over the show. And some were very good, too.
Yeah, some were very good.
Some, like your granddaughter.
Yeah, the girls were well behaved.
Yeah. The other
so
two, I
much
don't know
for
if
the
they
boys.
were, well, they were brothers, but I'm not sure if they were the same age or what, but they were a riot. But he had a very good sense of humor and patience with all of them. That afternoon, following that, I stopped with Trustee Newell and Trustee Gaeta over at the Park District's Pumpkin Fest. It was a little too windy to really enjoy much of it and very cold. Later that day, we had the Chutes and Ladders softball game, and congratulations to the fire department on winning the trophy again. On the 16th, as I mentioned earlier, I participated in the discussion regarding Canadian National with representatives from various congressional offices. On the 19th, coffee with the board, and as the mayor said, we had some great discussions that day. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the rest of the afternoon events because we were celebrating our granddaughter Ellie's 3rd birthday, and that kind of took precedence. And today, I filled in for the mayor to help the chamber out with a ribbon cutting for Tint World, which unfortunately is in Schaumburg, but their owners live in Hoffman Estates and are very anxious to stay in the area, Marshall Davis and his wife. So wish them well on their endeavor, and that's it.
Okay, trustee Stanton.
Thank you. I also attended the Chutes and Ladders game on the 12th. On the 17th of October, I attended the ribbon cutting for Deca Lash, which is at 4597 West Higgins Road. If the ladies want their lashes longer, that's the place to go. On 10...
You and me, Gary.
Yeah. On 10/19, I was here for the Coffee with the Board. Also on the 19th, I was also here for the Hispanic Heritage Day Fiesta, which was sponsored by our own Cultural Awareness Commission. They put on a very good event. And also, after that, most of us went to the Lincoln Prairie School Fall Fest, which was another great event. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Arnett.
Thank you. I apologize for missing the Chutes and Ladders, but I was up in Mackinac Island, so first time I ever missed one. But congratulations to the fire department. Saturday the 19th, they also attended Coffee with the Board. I think that's probably one of the biggest crowds that we've had and very well maintained. And I also attended the Black Party at 2190 Yale Circle. My compliments to the parents who did dress up because there was really some awesome costumes. And also attended the Hispanic Heritage Day and then also the Lincoln Prairie Fall Fest. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Newell.
Okay, well, going back to the 12th, which some of us attended the Mad Science, which was really very entertaining. We learned a lot, but I think it was more fun watching the kids trying to tell them not to do things. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, there we go. Okay. So that was a lot of fun. Learned a lot. Chutes and Ladders, congrats to the fire department. Then the Pumpkin Fest at Vogelai, as Trustee Mills had said, we had gone and with Trustee Gata, and it was a little breezy. They couldn't even get the blow-ups going because the wind was taking everything. So the 19th, of course, Coffee with the Board, very well attended. I think the 19th, everybody was out attending everything because also the trunk or treat at Seascape that was put on by the Park District. Great costumes, and it was mostly a lot of little children. It was so cute. They were just so excited. It was a good time. Black Party on Yale Circle. Once again, everybody's all dressed up, including the dogs, and the one that was a dog that was a UPS dog, which was very cute. Then also the Hispanic Heritage Day, which was very well attended. A lot of people, good speakers, good music. And then last but not least, on the way home, Fall Fest at Lincoln Prairie, which everyone, once again, was in the mood for Halloween, all dressed up. And that's it.
Thank you. Trustee Gata.
Okay, on Tuesday, October 8th, attended the senior citizens meeting here at Village Hall. And then on Saturday, September 12th, the Mad Scientist show at the Village. And thanks for the Youth Commission for putting it on. And it was fun and exciting, even for the whole family to enjoy. Also on Saturday, attended the Pumpkin Fest at Vogelai, as the two trustees had indicated. The three of us were there. And then also attended the Chutes and Ladder. And again, congratulations to the fire department. We can't understand why that the police department, right? I mean, you guys get it every year. We're going to have to see what we can do with the police department. Is that correct, Chief?
They won it last,
yeah.
yeah, they won it.
Just won last 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Anyways.
They're doing a free agent signing from Schaumburg.
Hey, that might work, too. That might work. Anyways, then on Friday, the 18th, attended the Fire Police Commission meeting that was held at the police station for oral interviews for promotions. And then on Saturday, there was 4 different things going on. The first was Coffee with the Board. The second was the block party on 2190 Yale Circle. The third was the Hispanic Heritage Day Fiesta, which was here, and it was an excellent turnout. And thank you again to the Cultural Awareness the chairperson, Pearl Anderson, and her staff just does an excellent job of setting that whole thing up. And as far as getting all the people and the food, that's another story, though. But anyways, and the fourth thing, Lincoln Perry School Fall Festive at 500 Hillcrest. And happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Johanna. That's all I have. Thank
Birthday,
you.
Joanna.
Yes.
Yeah, happy birthday to coming up for trustee Palafis also. Okay, we'll move on to village manager's report. Mr. Kaplan?
No report, sir.
Okay, village clerk's report.
I did with that, no report.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Does anybody have any questions on the treasurer's report?
Happy to receive it.
Okay. Anything you'd like to highlight, Madam Treasurer?
No, nothing to highlight this month.
Okay, this will be received and filed then. Move on to committee reports, Public Health and Safety, Trustee Gata.
I'll find it in a minute. Here we go. The Public Health and Safety Committee will meet here in Village of Hoffman Estates on October 28th, 2019. We will have a roll call to establish a quorum. We will have, second will be approval of the minutes of September 23rd, 2019. On new business, we have one request, approval of an amendment to Section 5-6-9 sworn personnel, Hoffman Estates Fire Department of the Hoffman Estates Municipal Code. Under information only, 1, the Police Department Monthly Report, 2, Health and Human Services Monthly Report, 3, Emergency Management Coordinator Monthly Report, and 4, Fire Department Monthly Report. We'll have a President's Report if there's anything other items in review, and we will have an adjournment.
Thank you. Finance, Vice Chair Newell, you handle that one for us?
Of course. So on October 28th, immediately following the Public Health and Safety, we'll have the Finance Committee. We'll have a roll call to establish quorum, and then we'll have the approval of minutes from September 23rd, 2019, also the October 7th, 2019 special meeting. Under new business, there are 3 items. Item number 1 is the request authorization to award the professional financial audit services contract for the Village and the Sears Center Arena for the 2019 fiscal year to BKD CPAs and advisors for a cost not to exceed $66,595, with the option of extending the contract for each of the years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Yikes. Item number 2, request authorization to award a contract for the 2020 Northwest Fourth Fest fireworks display to Melrose Pyrotechnics Incorporated out of Kingsbury, Indiana, in an amount not to exceed $40,250. And item number 3, request authorization to waive formal bidding and purchase of 9 semi-ruggedized laptop computers and accessories to CDS Office Technologies, State of Illinois Master Contract, which is CMS 5848520, for use in the Police Department patrol and response vehicles in an amount not to exceed $36,072. Under reports for information only, which will be filed and received, is the Finance Department Monthly Report, Information System Department Monthly Report, and the Sears Center Monthly Report. And if the president has anything to report, nothing under other or items in review, and we will adjourn.
Okay, moving on to Public Works and Utilities, Trustee Newell.
Keep on going. Okay, so immediately following the Finance Committee, we'll have the Public Work and Utility Committee on October 28th. We'll have a roll call, approval of minutes from September 23rd, 2019. And we've got, let's see, okay, 8 items under new business. Item number 1 is discussion regarding the 2019-2020 Snow Ice Control Policy and Procedure Manual. Item number 2 will be the request approval of the 2019 update of Cook County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Item number 3 is the request authorization to reject all bids for the purchase and installation of grinder and related improvements at the Moon Lake Lift Station. Item number 4, request authorization to award contract for the 2019-2020 front-end loader winter rentals 2, to be determined, in an amount not to exceed, to be determined. Item number 5, request authorization to award contract for the 2019-2020 sanitary sewer rehabilitation. Oh my gosh, I'm getting tired of this here. Okay, you know what that word is anyway. For partial compliance with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, MWRD, infiltration/inflow control program, which is the IICP 2, to be determined. Bid opens on 10/16/19, an amount not to exceed, to be determined. Item number 6, request authorization to award contract for State of Illinois joint purchase of 2019-2020 winter road salt to Cargill Salt Incorporated out of Chicago, Illinois, at a unit price of $89.33 per ton in an amount not to exceed $589,578. Item number 7, request authorization to award contract for the Almond Audubon Culvert Replacement Project 2, bid to be determined, in an amount not to exceed, to be determined. Item number 8, request approval of a request by Odessa, Illinois LLC for acceptance of public improvements for the Odessa auctions, and at this moment, it's under tentative. Reports for information only, there's only 2. One of them is the Department of Public Works monthly report. Item number 2 is the Department of Development Services monthly engineering report of the Transportation and Engineering Division. And if the president has anything additional to add, nothing under other or items in review, and honest, we're going to adjourn.
Okay, all I could ask, how about those Allied, huh? Beating Wisconsin, wasn't that great? Sorry to get off message, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to Planning and Zoning Commission report. Chairperson Combs.
And being from U of I concur. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended for approval a request by Fountain Crossing Development LLC applicant and Lakewood Barrington LLC owner for a map amendment rezoning from B2 Community Business to M2 Manufacturing District in accordance with Section 9-1-17 of the Municipal Code. The voting was 8 ayes, 3 absent.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions for Chairperson Combs? Seeing no questions?
Yeah, Mayor?
Yes.
This is just strictly the rezoning. There is no plan that's been
No,
presented yet.
this is just rezoning.
Okay.
Anything you want to add, Chairperson Combs?
Nope.
Nope, okay. We have a motion and a second. There's nothing else. Call the roll, Madam Clerk, please.
Trustee Gata?
Aye. Yes.
Trustee Arnett?
Aye. Yes.
Trustee Mills?
Aye.
Trustee Newell?
Are we saying aye or yes? Right? Okay, aye. That's fine.
Trustee Stanton?
Aye.
Mayor McLeod?
Aye, motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, additional business, item number 8. We have 1, request board approval of an ordinance amending section 6-2-1-HE-11-401 of the Hoffman Estates Municipal Code pedestrian solicitation. Mr. Lasota, do you want to address this?
Yes, Mayor, this is being brought again. It was tabled at a meeting on September 3rd for some additional information, specifically if surrounding communities had similar ordinances. The background on this is a request to repeal the village's ordinance governing restrictions on the highways by pedestrians, restrictions on solicitation by pedestrians in the roadway. I reviewed ordinances in surrounding communities and noted on the pink sheet, everyone I checked, Schaumburg, Palatine, Mount Prospect, Elk Grove, Elgin, Arlington Heights, all have similar ordinances. I don't see any actions being taken by any of those communities on those ordinances at that time. Or at this time. However, I have been tracking the case that sort of brought this to our attention, and that was a lawsuit filed by two individuals against the Village of Downers Grove and the state of Illinois. That was set for a hearing on September 18th or 19th, I believe, on a motion for a preliminary injunction by the plaintiffs against the Village of Downers Grove. And I will note that on the evening before, the Village of Downers Grove did repeal their ordinance in response to this lawsuit. At the hearing the next day, the judge noted that their ordinance was repealed. However, that village will remain a party to the case for the purposes of damages, which may include attorney's fees for the time that they were in the case. The case continues against the state, which has a statute upon which all these ordinances are based. That continues, and I believe it's up for a hearing again sometime in January. This time we provided a confidential memo which kind of set forth the legal department's analysis of the law in this area, and we believe it will ultimately be struck down as unconstitutional under the current state of the Supreme Court case law in this area.
So the state still has a ban or regulations. Does the county?
That is a good question. I did not investigate the county's ordinances on county roadways.
But at any rate, we're not going to enforce anything because we're going to repeal it. So that means anybody can go on any village street and solicit money for any reason whatsoever.
Correct.
Okay. Just to make it clear. Okay, anybody else have any questions?
No, I mean, I don't agree with the whole idea. I don't agree with the courts, the way they've been ruling, but we don't want to get into trouble either.
That's
as
all
far
those
as
lawyers they got
financially,
on the
yeah.
courts, you know, that's what does it. We do have a motion, a
No,
second,
we
Madam
don't
Clerk?
have one.
We don't have a motion.
Oh, I'll make a motion.
Are we doing them individually? Or
We'll
we-
have a roll call.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just doing the one.
We're just doing the one, yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Regretfully, aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, 8B, request board approval of a resolution of concern with Wisconsin Central Limited's proposed track. This was reviewed in committee earlier this evening.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. 8C, request board authorization to award a contract for the Barrington Road I-90 area study to Fire Associates, Chicago, Illinois, in amount not to exceed $91,615. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion on this one? Again, this was reviewed also. Can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. 8D, request board approval of the collective bargaining agreement between the Village of Hoffman Estates and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Hoffman Estates Chapter 96, for the period January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2021.
So
Is there a
moved.
motion? Is there a second? There's a motion, a second. That seems to be a fair agreement that was come to between the union and the village, and I think we're pleased that it's all worked out. And Dan O'Malley did a great job, as he always does on these matters.
Yeah, just want to send our thanks to the negotiating team on this.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, any other comments? Seeing none, can you call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Gata.
Aye.
Trustee Arnett.
Aye.
Trustee Mills.
Aye.
Trustee Newell.
Aye.
Trustee Stanton.
Aye.
Mayor McLeod.
Aye, motion carried. Item number 9, can I have chair have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's a motion, a second to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Trustee-
Opposed, the ayes have it, motion carried. We are adjourned.